In a world where conflicts and challenges seem insurmountable, an ancient story resonates with a message of hope and divine power. Today, we bring you a narrative not only remarkable for the miracle it presents, but for the timeless lesson it teaches about faith and humility. In this video, we will explore the biblical episode where a single angel, sent by God, annihilates 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in just one day, saving the city of Jerusalem from imminent destruction. This event not only altered the course of history, but also left a profound legacy on the power of God and the effectiveness of true faith. If you are looking for more biblical teachings and reflections to strengthen your faith, subscribe to the channel now to not miss our upcoming videos. Prepare to dive into a story of divine intervention, where celestial power demonstrates that no earthly adversary is too strong when the true God takes action. Stay with us, as this account not only inspires, but also instructs on how to face adversities with courage and conviction. In ancient Judah, tension mounts as fearsome Assyrian warriors line up at Jerusalem's gates. Led by their ruthless king Sennacherib, these soldiers are known for devastating cities with fierce efficiency. Armed to the teeth and with a reputation for leaving no survivors, they anticipate a swift and victorious siege. With their shields glinting in the setting sun and the ominous sound of their war drums, they send a clear message: destruction is near. As the people of Jerusalem watch from their ancient walls, they feel a mix of fear and faith. They know the stories of cities that have fallen to the Assyrian advance and are aware of the horrors that could await them. Yet, under the leadership of their king Hezekiah, they are called to trust not just in their fortifications, but in the divine promise of protection. The atmosphere is charged with intense anticipation of a miracle, a testimony that even in the face of formidable military power, there is a greater, supernatural force capable of salvation. Night falls over Jerusalem, and prayers begin to echo through the narrow streets of the city. As families gather to seek refuge in their faith and in the words of the prophet Isaiah, city leaders reinforce war strategies and defensive preparations. They know that the upcoming battle will be both physical and spiritual. Spiritual resilience becomes as crucial as the city's stone walls themselves, preparing everyone for what may be the greatest test of their faith and humility before God. At the heart of Jerusalem, King Hezekiah confronts the looming Assyrian threat with unshakable courage. Noticing the impending siege, he not only relies on traditional military strategies, but also seeks to strengthen the spirit of his people. Hezekiah, known for his piety and wisdom, calls the nation to return to religious practices, reaffirming covenants with God and encouraging a renewal of faith and obedience to biblical teachings. He understands that true resistance begins in the heart and soul of each citizen. As physical preparations for the city's defense continue, Hezekiah gathers priests and the people for prayers and sacrifices at the Temple of Jerusalem. He restructures religious ceremonies to reaffirm the divine covenant, proclaiming fasts and days of prayer. In this time of great trial, he ensures that every man, woman, and child understands the importance of their spiritual contribution to the fight against the Assyrians. His leadership transforms fear into determination, uniting the people not just in physical defense, but in a powerful spiritual shield. Hezekiah also takes impressively practical measures. In addition to strengthening the city's walls and stocking up on provisions, he orders the construction of a new water source, the Slew Tunnel, an engineering feat for the time. This initiative not only secures a water supply during the siege, but also serves as a physical symbol of divine protection and provision. Hezekiah's actions reflect his understanding that faith and prudence must go hand in hand, preparing his people both physically and spiritually for the challenges ahead. Hezekiah, recognizing the importance of both spiritual and physical strengthening, initiates a series of reforms that transform Jerusalem both internally and externally. He restores the purity of worship in the temple, eliminating idols and pagan practices that had infiltrated during previous reigns. This purification is not merely an act of religious devotion, but a call for the entire people of Judah to unite under the principles of a true and unshakable faith. This spiritual renewal is seen as essential for securing divine protection against the Assyrian threat. Militarily, Hezekiah takes an equally strategic approach. He reinforces Jerusalem's walls, making them taller and sturdier. He also creates weapons depots and strengthens the garrisons at strategic city points. Recognizing the importance of preparing his people for battle, he initiates intensive military training. Hezekiah does not neglect the prudence of physical warfare while seeking spiritual strengthening, showing leadership that encompasses all necessary aspects for survival and victory. Hezekiah's reforms are not limited to spiritual and military aspects. He also implements social and political changes to unify his people. He promotes justice and equity, reducing taxes to alleviate the burden on the poor and ensuring that laws are fairly applied to all. These policies strengthen internal cohesion and the morale of the population, who feel more committed and supported by their ruler. Thus, Hezekiah demonstrates a deep understanding that a nation's strength comes from its people as much as from its fortifications or religious practices. With the Assyrian threat at the doorstep, Hezekiah takes decisive measures to physically protect Jerusalem, implementing a series of ambitious engineering projects. He orders the construction of a massive wall around the city, a fortification designed to withstand long sieges and Assyrian war techniques. This new wall not only reinforces the city's physical security, but also serves as a tangible symbol of the people's determination and faith in divine protection. One of Hezekiah's most notable achievements is the construction of the Slew Tunnel, a revolutionary engineering work for the time. Carved through solid rock, the tunnel diverts the waters of the Gin spring inside the city walls, ensuring a continuous supply of fresh water. This critical infrastructure ensures that, even under siege, the citizens of Jerusalem would not suffer from a lack of water, a vital resource for daily sustenance and maintaining morale during the siege. Besides physical constructions, Hezekiah also organizes food and resource stocks, preparing his city to endure a prolonged siege without succumbing to hunger or despair. He mobilizes the entire community to participate in the preparation efforts, from the youngest to the oldest, fostering a spirit of unity and cooperation. These preparations are a testament to Hezekiah's prudence and strategic vision, which, while seeking divine protection through prayer and repentance, does not neglect the need for practical actions to ensure the physical survival of his people. Amid Jerusalem's preparations for the imminent siege, the voices of prophets Isaiah and Nahum resonate with both warning and comfort. Isaiah, in particular, stands out by proclaiming God's sovereignty and power in the face of the Assyrian threat. He vividly describes the brutality of the enemies, but also reaffirms the divine promise of protection and salvation for those who remain faithful. His prophecies are not just foretellings. They are calls to faith, encouraging the people to rely not on their own strength but on the supernatural power of God. Nahum complements Isaiah's words with his own visions, which illustrate the inevitable downfall of Assyria due to its arrogance and cruelty. He prophesies that despite the power and terror imposed by Assyria, it will also face divine justice. These prophecies bolster the morale of Jerusalem, providing a perspective that the battle they face is part of a larger plan where justice will prevail. Thus, the faith of the inhabitants intensifies, supported by the conviction that history is being shaped by a divine hand. The words of the prophets are disseminated throughout Jerusalem, imprinted on the hearts of each listener. They not only prepare the people for the physical fight, but also arm them with the spiritual resilience necessary to face the challenges ahead. As the Assyrian shadow draws nearer, these prophecies echo through the streets, reminding everyone of the constant presence of God, who promises intervention and salvation even in moments of greatest despair. The stories of angelic intervention and divine miracles become pillars of the city's spiritual resistance. In a moment of escalating despair, King Hezekiah turns completely to God, seeking guidance and divine intervention. In an act of deep humility and faith, he prostrates himself in the temple, bringing with him the threatening letters from the Assyrians. Before the altar, Hezekiah prays fervently, asking God to hear his people's pleas and intervene to save Jerusalem from impending destruction. This touching scene of a king kneeling in prayer becomes a powerful symbol of his total dependence on divine providence. The response to this prayer is not long in coming. The prophet Isaiah brings a message from God to Hezekiah, assuring him that the city will not fall into Assyrian hands and that God himself will oversee its protection. This divine promise renews the hope and strength of Hezekiah and his people, reaffirming that their faith is not in vain and that they are under the care of a superior force capable of altering the course of human history. The certainty of divine intervention spreads like a breath of new life among the citizens of the besieged city. The faith demonstrated by Hezekiah inspires all the people of Jerusalem. They unite in prayer and praise, strengthened by the conviction that they are not alone in this fight. The assurance of divine presence and protection transforms fear into courage, despair into determination. The nightly prayers and songs of worship fill the streets, weaving a tapestry of faith and resistance that proves to be as crucial as the city's own walls in protecting it. In the dead of night, while Jerusalem sleeps in fervent prayer, an extraordinary event unfolds in the Assyrian camps. An angel of the Lord descends silently upon the scene, bringing divine judgment. Without warning, the Assyrian army, previously seen as invincible and thirsty for conquest, is decimated. Hundreds of warriors are struck down in an instant, their plans of besieging thwarted by a celestial force incomparable. This miracle not only protects Jerusalem, but also serves as a poignant testament to the sovereign power of God over human ambitions. As dawn breaks and news of the miracle spreads, relief and jubilation burst forth among the people of Jerusalem. The divine intervention is clear and undeniable, reinforcing everyone's faith in the God of Israel. King Hezekiah and his subjects gathered to celebrate this supernatural victory, recognizing that their salvation came not by man's hand, but by the direct touch of God. This event strengthens the unity and religious devotion in Jerusalem, solidifying belief in divine protection and the power of intervention from their God. This divine act not only saves Jerusalem, but also resonates through neighboring nations, serving as a powerful warning against arrogance and tyranny. The account of this miracle is recorded in various chronicles and transmitted across generations, becoming a symbol of faith against oppression and divine power defending the righteous. For the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the memory of the angel descending to save their city remains a constant source of inspiration and a reminder of mercy and miraculous power from their God. Beyond the oral and written accounts passed down, there are archaeological finds and ancient documents that confirm the events described in the scriptures. The Prism of Sennacherib, an Assyrian artifact unearthed in excavations, contains inscriptions detailing the Assyrian king's military campaigns against Jerusalem. This prism not only validates the biblical siege, but also highlights the grandeur of the Assyrian king, providing historical context that enriches the understanding of biblical events. Historical accounts by the Greek chronicler Herodotus, though not directly mentioning divine miracles, provide additional background about the era, including details on Assyrian military and political practices. These accounts help bridge the stories of faith with the world of verifiable history, allowing both believers and skeptics to see that the events described in the scriptures are not just myths or allegories, but are grounded in real and tangible occurrences. The integration of these artifacts and historical accounts into the study of biblical events adds an extra dimension of authenticity and depth. For the faithful, these evidences serve as reinforcement of the veracity of biblical narratives, while for scholars and historians, they offer fertile ground for academic exploration. Thus, the story of Hezekiah and divine intervention in Jerusalem gains not just a spiritual context, but also a historical and archaeological profile that challenges time. The saga of Hezekiah and the Assyrian siege culminates in a powerful lesson of faith and humility. Through this narrative, The belief that true strength lies not in military power or the arrogance of earthly realms, but in humble reliance on divine power is reinforced. Hezekiah, by trusting in God in the face of a seemingly insurmountable threat, exemplifies a faith that serves as a model for all believers, showing that even the most formidable challenges can be overcome with divine assistance. This story also warns against the dangers of arrogance, exemplified by the posture of the Assyrians, who saw themselves as invincible and destined for victory. The miraculous defeat of the Assyrian army serves as a sovereign reminder that pride and self-sufficiency can lead to downfall. For believers, this narrative teaches that humility before God is not just a virtue, but a fundamental necessity for receiving grace and divine favor. Ultimately, the legacy of this biblical story transcends generations and cultures, offering valuable lessons on human conduct and faith. It inspires believers to seek a deeper and more confident relationship with God, and to stand firm in faith even when faced with the most daunting of adversities. The story of Hezekiah is not just a record of past events, but a continuing map for a life of faith, resilience, and humility. As we reflect on this powerful story of Hezekiah and the divine intervention that saved Jerusalem, we are invited to consider how our own faith guides us during life's challenges. This biblical account is not just a reminder of what happened in the past. It is a call to action for each of us today. How are we putting our faith into action? Are we relying on human strength or seeking God's help in our adversities? We encourage you to take these lessons into your daily life, applying the humility and faith that Hezekiah demonstrated. Ask yourself, how can I show genuine faith in my life? Share your thoughts in the comments and discuss how this story impacts your spiritual journey. If you were blessed by this content and want to continue receiving these messages, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share with those you think need this word. Together, we can grow in faith and wisdom, strengthened by the eternal truths that only the Word of God can offer.